Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day to everybody. Let's continue from what we have covered in the previous class. We are still in the topic of introduction to software engineering, and in this slide and in this video, I'll be covering on the second aspect, which is understanding the development of different types of software that might require different techniques. Alright, so let's continue the main. Alright, um, there are actually many methodology for software development available out there that have been established since I think for the previous 70 years ago. Okay, so it has been along, software engineering have been along for quite some time. And of course, because they have been doing it again and again, they have come up with a set of practices that is common whenever they are developing software. Right. Despite many methods in software development, most of these methods and steps is actually having these four core activities. Okay, the first one is software specification, right? So this is the part, the activities that involve um, discussion with the customer, okay, where the software engineer discuss with the customer in order to understand what the customers um, requirement in the software that they are trying to produce, okay, and what are the constraints, okay, in terms of the time, how much is the budget, okay, the kind of scope of the function that the customers want, okay. So the second activity is related to the development part itself, so where based on what they understand, based on what the software engineer understand from the customer, from the previous activity, they will try to develop it and doing coding along the way. Alright, and after that, when the system is either partially ready or fully ready, it'll be you have to do the software engineer have to do the software validation. Okay, you have to check whether is this what the customers want. Okay, right, you have to check to make sure that all the bug, any error in entering data or the stored data that have been entered by the customer or the software tester itself, is it correct or not? Okay, so you have to check. And the last activities is actually related to evolution. Okay, this is where the system is ready, the customer has been using it for quite some time and they are very familiar with it, and then from there maybe they will request for additional functions, or maybe they want it to run in a different platforms, or maybe due to some changes in the market requirement or in the legislation in terms of the government rules, so some of the software need to be um, expanded or evolved. Okay. All right. So when you're talking about software, nowadays there are, in general, we can group it into two big category. The first one is generic. Okay, the second one is customized. Right. Generic is the one. Generic means general. Okay. So the the software is actually created for general use. Okay. Common, you can imagine that Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, those are more like a generic product. Okay, so it is most of the time it is a standalone system, but nowadays even Microsoft product, it is made online with Microsoft 365, so they have make it cloud based, right? So but we can still categorize it as generic, and it is being sold to customer whoever wish to buy. You can actually buy it because it has generic function. Okay, the specification of that software should do what is provided by the software, right? And if there is a need to change the software, it is actually made by the developer, made by the owner of the software. So it's like when you use Microsoft Word, from time to time they keep on renewing or creating new version, yeah, with new version having different functions and is supposed to be more effective and more suitable for the user. Okay, so the changes are not requested by the customer, but it is actually made by the developer or the company owner themselves. Okay, so when you are using this kind of software product, it is more of a generic product. Okay, the second part or the second type is called customized products. Right, so the software is actually built or develop based on the customer's needs. What the customer want, they try to develop based on what the customer requested. Okay, the specification of the software is owned by the customer. Whatever decision for changes or update is actually requested by the customer. So it is customized product. Okay, oh, I thought I've covered this, but it's actually in this slide, this part of slide. Okay, if you're looking and be using software, maybe you're using it without realizing the type of the software, right? So there are actually standalone application like the one that you install only for the use of your laptop. Okay, um, you can use it without any internet connection. Okay, like Microsoft product, the older version, I think even the new version you can still use it without internet connection. And then there is a application which is the type is related to interactive transaction based application. All right, so this application execute on a remote computer and access it by the PC. So it's like when you are using Shopee, all right, so the transaction is actually done through the web or through the mobile, and the server is somewhere else, right? And the third type is called embedded control system. All right, this is a kind of control system that control and manage hardware devices. Okay, so normally it is software that is embedded in the devices. Okay, so it is controlling the. Okay, other types of software is called batch processing system. Alright, so this kind of system actually deal with lots of data where they cannot process it real time. So normally they will store it at one place first, and then later, maybe at night, they will start to process it. Okay, so the data for this kind of system is not real time, right? And there is also application for entertainment. Okay, I think like the one that you have at your home, in the Astro box, or there are many products nowadays, which is the competitor for Astro. I have one at home which is not Astro, but it is actually an entertainment kind of system. It is actually you have to download it and put it in your box, and then there is and the one that I have is Android based. So there is a screen that is being shown on in the TV that you can choose from your remote. Okay, that is another kind of system. I think nowadays there are many Netflix, yeah, what is that? Yeah, Amazon Prime, okay, all sorts of entertainment system. And also there is a software for modeling and simulation. So this is normally used by the scientists because sometimes they have a set of data that they want to process, and along the way they want to see based on the data that they input, what are the effects um, done, what the effects on the model that they have created. Maybe there is like the changes can be seen in the interface. All right. Okay. other types of software. There are actually many more, but this is among the common one. Data collection system. Right. Nowadays, there are actually many many system nowadays are using sensors. All right, and these sensors keep on up collecting information. Like sometimes even in the car, the modern car nowadays, there are many sensor, right? So there are sensor to check the temperature in the car, sensor for detecting rain, sensor to detect that the condition in the car, in the engine part is actually in a good condition. So this data is always collecting information and inputting it to an engine that will decide whether is it okay or it need other actions. And also, um, there are software that is actually system of systems. All right. So nowadays, systems are more complicated. So it's like for your for the student information system in the university is actually system of system, right? There are system for handling the registration, the student information, and on top of that there is also UUM online, for example, the platform for learning. Okay, and then there is also another set of system to that handle the accommodation information, the industry's information. So it is actually a combination of system in order to make things go smooth from A to Z. Okay, okay, these are so we have been looking at different types of software, and before that, we look at two main category of software, which is customized and generic. Okay, let's look at software engineering fundamentals. Right? Okay. So some fundamental principles apply to all types of software. Okay, regardless of the development technique that they are following. Each system should be managed, should be developed using a managed and understood development process. So in the software world, so normally they have mentioned earlier, the previous software engineers, they have come up with a set of process that is common. So no, normally we follow the standard practice. Why we follow it? So that it's easier for the others to so that everybody is using a standardized process, so that they know what will happen next, what should, in what step, for example, what they should, uh, what kind of action they should perform. So it is more systematic. All right. And other than that, when you are dealing with software engineering and software development, there are often some dependability, okay, and performance. Um, so these are among the two things which is important for all types of system. Dependability here means like um, things like security. Okay, if you security is often dependent to the usability. For example, if you want to make a system very secure, uh, you have to make trade-off to the usability. Okay, because you want to make system more secure, so you have to force the user to log in, or maybe after quite some time you have to log the user out. Okay, so it make the system slightly unusable. Okay, it make the user feel uncomfortable using the system. So those are what it means by dependable. Okay, in order to achieve one system, you need to make trade-off. You have to let go of some of other um, qualities. Okay, so if you want to make system with a better performance, okay, you need um, to make the system less complex. Okay, because the processing time to handle very complex processes will take longer time. So in terms of performance, it is being reduced. Okay, so those are kind of things that you need to always consider regardless of what types of way that you develop the system. Okay, so of course I've mentioned this when we explain about software engineering activities. So you need to um, regardless of different types of system, following different types of development technique, okay, we must always understand and manage the software specification and requirement. Okay, not only that we need to understand, but we need to manage it well, because as you go along developing the system, there are new requirements being updated. Okay, and that it need to be reflected not only in the software but need to be reflected in the user manual, okay, in testing. So all this need to be traced and need to be managed. And um, and the principle of software use is often the focus rather than writing a new software. Okay, because I have mentioned earlier in the first class that when you are nowadays when you are developing a software, you are not given like 1 year or 2 year to finish it up. You are given like 3 to 4 months to produce the first software. So you don't have much time. So uh, therefore, software engineering is actually encouraging that software are made to be more reusable. Okay, so when you write the code, you should be thinking like, how other people can reuse my code. If I want to extend it to another new version, maybe in the next batch, how am I going to do it? So you need to start thinking about reuse.